Matthew chapter 9, beginning in verse 9, with a man by the name of Matthew. Let's see Jesus' intervention in Matthew's life and in some of his friends. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man named Matthew. And by the way, this is the same Matthew from which comes the name of the first gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, same guy. He saw a man named Matthew sitting at his tax collector's booth. And so let's stop for a moment. The man's name is Matthew. And where is he sitting? At his tax collector's booth. So what is Matthew? Matthew at this point is a tax collector. We must pause for a moment and understand this. To be a tax collector meant this. It means that you were a Jew employed by Rome. Rome was the occupying force in Palestine during those days. And so as a Jew employed by Rome, you are, if you will, counter to your brethren, okay? You're going to collect taxes that are going to your oppressors. So by reason of that, you're not a very popular guy. Additionally, the way a tax collecting system would work in those days is if you were employed by Rome in an occupying territory, what you would do is you were required to fulfill a quota to Rome every year of the amount of taxes that were to be paid by your particular area of responsibility, and anything else you collected above and beyond that went in your own pockets. And so you're actually stealing from your brothers. So everybody hated the tax collectors. But Jesus is walking through a town one day and he sees Matthew sitting at his tax collector's booth. That's who he was. And notice how Jesus responds to this broken, messed up guy that nobody liked. Nobody really wanted to be around except people like himself. Jesus says, "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Matthew got up and followed him. There must have been something in the way that Jesus said, "Come follow me and be my disciple." There must have been something compassionate and something very warm and very kind for Matthew to just leave everything behind and say, "Jesus, I'm going to follow you." He got out from his tax collecting booth and began to follow Jesus. And it goes on to verse 10 and says, later Matthew invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with, so Matthew says, "I want to show my appreciation to you, Jesus. Come to my house for dinner. I'm going to bring some guests with us. We'll have a great meal together." So he invited, notice who he invited to the party. Dinner guests along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. Now think about this. So they're going to have a party, okay? And now Matthew invites all the terrible people in town, okay? It's like, who's the worst people we can get here? Who's like the lowest of the lowest? Jesus, come and hang out with us. Now, if you're Jesus, you got to make a choice at that point. Do I want to be seen with that crowd, right? Am I going to allow myself to be seen with that crowd? It really wasn't a choice for Jesus because that was the very crowd Jesus loved to be seen with. Okay? See, Jesus is always attracted to people that are broken. He's always attracted to people that are messed up. He's always attracted to people that have issues in their life. And so Jesus was happy to go. But when the Pharisees saw this, the Pharisees were these religious leaders, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with such scum?" When Jesus heard this, I want you to get this nature of Jesus. When Jesus heard this, he said, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do." Let's stop there for a moment. Here are the Pharisees, the people who thought that they were all righteous and all great and all good. They felt good about themselves, self-righteous. And Jesus said to these Pharisees, he said, "You know what? Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do." What he was in essence saying to these Pharisees is, you're sick and you don't realize it. These people are sick and they realize it. If you think you're healthy, you'll never seek a doctor. It's only when you realize that you're sick that you'll find the healing that you need in life. It goes on now in verse number 13. It says, then he added, "Now go and learn the meaning of the scripture. I want to show you mercy. I want you to show mercy, not offer sacrifice. For I've come to call not those who think they're righteous, but those who know they are sinners."